Hello, everyone. This is episode 15 of Here Comes the Pitch, a podcast about pitching story ideas. I'm your host, Derk Harron, and in today's episode, I will be pitching a dark comedy called CUPID to my guest, Al Sparrow. I would compare this story to the movie Dogma and the TV series Cheers. Well, without further ado, here comes the pitch.
I just have to know what my wife's doing. So.
I'm just looking at the...
There's just so much to look at here
Exactly.
at One Up Games. Mesa, Arizona. Yeah, this has been like the place that we do most of the podcasts now. At first I was doing it over at my house, but it's just nice that it's a nice atmosphere.
Yeah, really.
So it's just a building of nostalgia.
It's the past 20, 30 years of my life in a store. I used to work in a video rental store, and that whole Nintendo wall is just... That's everything we rented. This was back when Nintendo started.
Yeah. I'm just going to move this up a little bit closer to you.
If you need me to talk louder, just say talk louder.
Okay. But anyways, Al Sparrow.
We've been recording.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
No, but it was interesting how I met you because you did that panel thing at Bookman's in Phoenix, and I didn't know who was going to be there other than Jay Photos because I kind of know him.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work at Phoenix College where he teaches, and so I just wanted to show some support, and then once I saw that you were one of the panelists as well, and just how
Who's that freak show sitting next to Jay? Yeah.
No, but no, I was just like, wow, he knows what he's talking about. He certainly knows his comic books.
I grew up with them, yes.
Yeah, and I'm just a lover of comic books, lover of stories in general. And so I was like, man, and you're a talker too. So I was like, you would be perfect for this show.
Yeah, well, I wasn't I'm glad I could come back because we were going to do this a lot earlier, and I caught a cold, and then I wouldn't be a talker because I had no voice.
It's no problem, man. I'm just glad that it finally worked out, and but one of the reasons why you were at the panel was because you write comic books,
right?
But you also draw too, because I follow you on Instagram, and you.
I'm sorry.
Why? I like your little comics, man.
There you go.
Your one panel comics, and I said to you before that it totally reminds me of ElfQuest, which my wife. Just how you draw women,
sure.
your women elves and stuff like that, and I was just like, man, I told my wife about you, and she's been checking out your comics too.
Oh, so okay. Well, it's eventually going to work its way to print form, a more cleaned up and I would say better drawn version of the elf character is going to show up in comic form hopefully later this year.
Awesome, man.
Once I get it done.
So, but I enjoy your humor, and but one thing that I wanted to talk about was just I love your feed on Facebook too, just how you come across all the these daily events. I loved how you I feel like you summarized Phoenix Fan Fest very well, which recently happened. And
did you go?
Yeah.
If you went, I didn't see you.
Well, I came over to your table a couple times actually,
and I probably wasn't there.
No.
You did come to that last day. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
See, those medications are wonderful.
Because I came over, and then that's when you introduced me to those horror guys that were right next to you.
For the horror podcast, yeah.
Yeah, and because I'm also on the horror show podcast as well, and but I don't know, man. I think that you do a great job of especially what you had to say about FanFest, because it was a little lackluster, but it was still like a lot of fun because it's just so many familiar faces and everybody's supporting each other.
And that's it. The Phoenix comic community is fairly. We do a good job supporting each other.
Right.
When you have ideas, you can bounce them off each other and either build on it or, sometimes people be dead honest. Is like, that's not a great idea.
And that's that's what I like. I like honesty, and that's kind of what this podcast is about. Is just like bouncing ideas off of each other, and so might as well just get into my pitch.
Okay, go with your pitch, and then that'll help me build off mine.
All right. Well, I actually was developing this story about 3-4 months ago. I was, I'm a big horror fan. Since I'm on a horror podcast. But I always thought it would be interesting to have. I know that they've done it before with Valentine's Day horror movies and stuff like that. I don't know if you watch horror movies.
I've seen my share. I was never a huge aficionado of horror in general.
Okay.
I mean, Halloween was my joint. I love that one.
Yeah.
I would watch those even though they kept screwing it up. I'm definitely going to go see the new one.
Yeah.
Now that Jamie Lee Curtis is back and she never got killed like
they did in the
H2O, I think it wasn't it?
Well, wasn't there another one after H2O?
Yeah, they did a follow up to that one.
The Resurrection or something like that, Halloween Resurrection or Retaliation. Or,
and they had that whole Halloween 4, the Revenge of Michael Myers or the Return of Michael Myers, and then Halloween 5, and they had this whole side story that never went anywhere.
Well, yeah, because the psychiatrist or whatever, the guy that put him away, the actor died, and so they weren't able to finish off that story.
Yeah,
and so that was unfortunate because I kind of liked that movie, even though it was quirky. It had Paul Rudd in it, and how he was obsessed with
in the early days. Yeah,
and
Donald Pleasance was the actor.
Yeah, and so he actually, I believe he died while making that movie because they had to change kind of the ending, because you kind of hear his voice, and they weren't able to finish that last scene.
It has been a long time since I've seen 4 or 5.
Okay, but I just, it's weird because it was they had the audio. Maybe they shot the scene, but they didn't like how it looked, and so at the very end, it's basically just a shot of his mask off. And then you hear them in the background, and it's you just hear the audio, and you're just how are they ending it like this? But to find out that the actor died and everything. So, but anywho, so Valentine's Day, they, you have My Bloody Valentine,
right?
But I also like Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and so I always thought it'd be interesting to make Cupid like a horror monster creature thing.
Okay.
But and so that's how I was developing it. I was doing a lot of research on Cupid, and then just finding out about how he's kind of this god of mischief as well as as they've mentioned him as the god of fornication as well, and just hooking people up and stuff.
Right.
But it was really weird because I kind of got here a little late. Usually I show up a little earlier than I did, but I was just kind of wrapped up trying to develop a pitch for a horror movie, and so I ended up just taking a shower, and I was just you know what, see what you can come up with after a shower.
Sure.
And I thought it would be really interesting as maybe in a play setting, like a 1-act play where here's this handsome looking guy who comes in to this bar where his girlfriend is a waitress, and it's maybe it's like a special day for them, you know, like it's their anniversary. And so he wanted to surprise her at work, but he ends up proposing to her, for instance. And the bartender, who has always like had like this crush on this girl, you know, sees this proposal, you know, and she says yes, and then you know, he's like upset because he's like, man, if only I would have been able to tell her like how much I liked her.
Sure.
And so, you know, he's super excited. The guy that just proposed, and so he's just like, I'm gonna make this. I gotta go make a phone call. We got so much planning to do. Blah blah blah. And so he leaves for a sec, and you have the bartender just down in the dumps because of what he just saw, and this one lone guy who's at the bar says, you know, calls him out on it, like, seems like you're a little bit down. And so he pretty much says, like, you know, I could change things for you if you wanted them to happen. And so the bartender's like, I don't know what you're talking about, guy. And, you know, this is like some hooded dude who looks kind of creepy. But, you know, he's been drinking the whole day. You know, he's a barfly, not thinking anything of it. This guy's like, well, what if I could grant you her love? And then he's like, well, even if you could do that, like, well, why would you do that for me? And he's like, oh, just because I'm a nice guy. And so come to find out that this barfly is Cupid. Right. And so he ends up taking one of his darts, because it's talked about that either, you know, he does shoot arrows, he does, or he has darts, and so he ends up taking one of these darts and he like throws it at her, and then like she's instantly falls in love with the bartender. Wait a minute. I just got it wrong. Okay. No, what about if he... Oh, man. Jeez. I kind of fucked it up. It's like almost like telling a joke.
Sure.
And so I fucked up the joke.
I can't tell a joke.
What if it was the girl who left, for instance, and she said, oh my God, like, I have to make a phone call, tell my parents, you know, I'm getting married. And so you got this guy, all right? And he's, like, so happy that, like, she said yes, right? And what if, like, this bartender, okay, was gay? Okay. And so he is
He's more interested
in the guy. And he knew... I totally messed that up. So, yeah, so he is interested in this guy. Cupid says, like, well, you know, I could make that guy fall in love with you. And he's like, well, what do you, like, why would you do that?
It sounds like there's got to be a quid pro quo.
Well, there's a reason why Cupid's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
So, instantly... the guy that just proposed falls in love with the bartender. They're inseparable. Girl comes back, sees, like, what's going on here. Finds out from this Cupid guy, it looks like he's had a change of thought. And so he's, like, kind of, like, flirting with her a little bit. And he goes, well... I could make him fall back in love with you, but you got to play me a game in darts. And, you know, of course, Cupid is perfect in darts. King of darts. And she's like, well, what if I lose? And he says, well, then you'll have to sleep with me. And he goes, well, that is like the cheapest way of you trying to get in my pants, you know? And so he goes, well, watch this, all right? And I did some research on like Cupid's darts. There's different darts that do different things. For instance, like the sharp golden point dart or arrow, you know, will gently make whoever he throws it at smitten with the person.
Right.
But it's easily cured. But if he throws like a silver dart, then it makes it more compelling. So, and if he throws like a blunt tip dart that's lead, then that all of that desire will flee. You know. So what he does is he ends up throwing the lead dart at him, and he instantly snaps out of it, and he's just like, what is going on? Why am I holding this dude? Like, why are we buddied up? And then she's like, oh my god, you are Cupid, you know? And so he ends up like you know, throwing the silver one now at him, and then like he falls back in love with the guy.
Right.
So she ends up having to play this game of darts with him. But she also knows a lot about Cupid because because she's been studying Greek mythology in college and stuff like that. So she keeps distracting him in a sense, like with like saying like, oh, like, is that Apollo? Which like Apollo has always had like this ongoing feud with Cupid and stuff like that. So like he just keeps messing up.
Or Aphrodite comes in, she's his mother or something like that.
Yeah, like Venus.
Okay.
But what's interesting too is like that I when I was researching was that there's multiple Cupids actually, and you know it's depicted a lot in art, yeah. So that was one thing that I was like kind of trying to develop with like the horror aspect of the pitch that I was trying to work on, because I thought like, oh, it would be cool if like each Cupid was a little different. Like, you know, you could like almost turn it into like a franchise where like, you know, if they did kill Cupid, since like he is on Earth and like he has taken like a physical form, then you could necessarily kill him, but like and then him coming back would be like a different Cupid. Like,
well, did you ever read I don't know how much of a science fiction buff you are, but Piers Anthony had a whole series called Incarnations of Immortality. Really good series, and it kind of ties into what you're talking about. It talks about different aspects of the supernatural being offices that you hold. Like the first book is called On a Pale Horse.
Okay.
And it deals with death.
All right.
You know, the actual scythe-carrying angel of death. Well, it turns out death is an office. It's a job. And you assume the job by killing him.
Right.
And what basically happens at the very beginning is this guy named Zane is like totally down on his luck. He's ready to end it.
All right.
Death comes to claim him. Well, he kind of panics, sort of, and shoots him. And if Death isn't ready for it, you know, otherwise Death would be immortal.
Right.
You know, if he knows, it's kind of like Batman. If Batman is prepared, nothing can stop him.
Right.
Well, Death wasn't ready, and Death died. So immediately someone else, one of the other aspects of immortality, shows up and says, okay, you killed Death. You're now Death. Here's your job. And so he basically has to go around and measure souls.
Oh, okay.
So you could kind of take, Cupid and have it be like that, where, yeah, it's an office. Like, okay, if I lose this dart game, I'm no longer Cupid.
Oh, interesting.
Because obviously, if you can beat me at darts, you're a better dart thrower than I am.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, this poor girl, if she actually beats him, and maybe he doesn't tell her that. And that's the
Right.
Twilight Zone wake up in hell type thing.
Right.
She wakes up and all of a sudden she's got to go around being a matchmaker for the rest of her life.
Right.
When all she wanted was to get married.
Right. That's interesting.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, like the little twist at the end.
I mean, those books are well worth seeking out. I'm sure they're still in print, but it goes through... Death is the first book, Time is the second, and that's a really good one because the character in it just wants to be an adventurer, and he agrees to take over time, and basically once you take over time, the person currently in the office comes over, hands you the hourglass, and bam, you're living your life backwards. So you have as much time in the office as you were alive. You're just basically moving backwards along your timeline. You're not aging backwards, but that's your timeline. The third book is Fate, and this girl takes on all three aspects: Clotho, I'm going to mispronounce it, Lachesis, and Atropos, the three people who weave the web of our lives. The third one is War, or fourth one is War. That one's actually really good. And the last one, I'm going to draw a blank on it. Nature, there it is, yeah. Basically Mother Nature. And he did 2 follow-ups after that on a much larger scale where someone took on Satan.
Okay.
Satan is an office that you take over, as is God. Essentially. Really good books, well worth checking out.
Well, who wrote those again? Sorry.
Piers Anthony. He wrote a science fiction series called Xanth that he's probably most famous for. It's a fantasy series and all like that, but I really love that series. It's been a long time since I've read it, but that immediately snapped to mind when you're talking about, Cupid walks into a bar and...
Yeah, I don't know, I envisioned that it's all taking place in like this bar scenario. I didn't necessarily know how it would end.
Sure.
So that's why I like the twist of she beats him, but because she beat him, there was no way of taking the desire away since he had already used the blunt.
Right. Well, that's the
lead
fun part. Yeah,
arrow.
if you come up with rules like you can only use so many leads in a 6-month period, and he just used his last one, well...
Or, the silver one was that's it.
Or he could be playing to lose. Maybe this is some schlep who won the office himself, and he's like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, maybe
So maybe he's playing to lose. That could be another thing.
Yeah, maybe he knew that she was really good at darts.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, she thinks she's going to sucker him, but he suckers her.
Yeah.
So that's not bad. I don't know how much of a horror aspect. It's
no.
More of a Twilight Zone-y type thing.
Yeah, I originally was developing it as kind of like a horror thing, but then I thought I like the idea of that he's just like this trickster, that it could be more of a comedy. It could be just a one-act play where it all just takes place in this bar.
Sure.
And so that's kind of how I was developing it. I'd say a half an hour before I showed up. I was just because I did have some ideas originally, for instance, Seven. I love that movie.
Sure.
And so I was thinking maybe it's this serial killer that takes on the name of Cupid and somehow is getting revenge by, I don't know, killing couples or something like that, where it's this whole mystery thing where you have to unlock what she or he is trying to do to prove a point.
Right.
But then I was just it's too Seven. It's too much like Seven.
Yeah.
And that's been done before. But yeah, I kind of like the idea that it's more sci-fi in a sense, where it's just the twist at the end, that maybe he knew he was going to lose, but he put her up in a situation where she was never going to win either.
Yeah, well, that would be how I would approach it. Is I would just make Cupid the ultimate gamester.
Yeah.
He knows how to play the game. He knows how to play the game better than anybody, even to the point where he knows when it's time to stop playing, and he wants to pass it on.
Right.
Now, I don't know what we would have him giving up. If he does this, does he die or does he go back to being his normal human self? Or...
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe now he's passed off the job of Cupid, and now he gets to just live a mortal life afterwards.
Yeah.
There's maybe that,
or he could just make him a total pimp, because that's what Cupid would be. Well, I'm also reminded there's a song I love by my favorite band is a band called Marillion, and they have a song called 100 Nights, and the whole song is basically just a guy passes another guy at a bar, and the basic lines are, "You didn't notice me when I passed you on the stairs. How could you ever guess, looking at my face, how closely I share your tastes, how well I know your place. Even the clothes you wear, I've seen them when you're not there." The idea being, while he's out making time and playing the scene and all like that, the final lines of the song are, "She spends your money on me." So he's basically back at home servicing that person's wife or that person's lover or something like that. That would almost strike me as a Cupid type thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm the god of love and you're not living up to it, and you're going to pay for it in a very indirect way. So that could be another fun way to think of it.
Yeah, I was just to try to jumpstart just my creativity. I was listening to, do you know who Sam Cooke is?
Mm-hmm.
And the song Cupid.
There's Cupid, and it's not Sam Cooke. I don't know who wrote the old blues, "Who's Making Love to Your Old Woman While You Were Out Making Love," but it's that same... I don't know who originally did it.
Right.
But it's an old soul song or blues song.
Yeah. But that's how I came up with, listening to that song, was that, why don't I just... I make it more supernatural, where he is it's not someone just taking on the name of Cupid,
right,
and killing people, but what if it was Cupid? And then a lot of the stuff that I sort of pitch does have horror elements to it, and my wife was just like, you need to get out of that, you're kind of only focused on one genre. And so, because when I was trying to do some quick pitches to her of scenarios of oh great, Cupid's this creature thing, and she's just like, why does somebody have to die? Why does it can it be more about the trickery behind that character, since he is kind of a god of trickery.
Sure. Well, I mean, the best horror, nobody dies.
Yeah, that's true too.
You're forced to live with whatever's happened. That's scarier than death is a release.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you killed them while they're out of the game. In this case, it's no, now you've got the job. So
yeah, maybe it's almost Cupid is this barfly that's just been there for forever. Maybe it's this couple kind of walked in on this bar where for the longest time Cupid's been trying to trick somebody into taking his job.
Away his job, yeah.
And then in a sense it was the bartender is just kind of enthralled by that he was actually able to do it this time around.
Yeah.
Now she's the new Cupid. That's
do an epilogue where she's at the end of the bar now.
Yeah. Now she's the one that has to ask the new people that come in or want to play a dart game or something like that.
You could make Cupid the bartender for that matter, and it's
interesting.
Then it's just all they do all day long is see people come in proposing marriage, cheating on each other, just any aspect of
it would, or maybe maybe the bartender is like Mercury, which is he's also like the god of like financial gain and trickery and thieves and luck, and so maybe it's almost like a bet that here's father and son trying to do like a trick on someone, like maybe the son has like is just has to work there just because he has to appeal to his father,
or he pissed off Zeus, and so Zeus basically banished him to this bar, so that's where he's got to hang out.
So I don't know, like like I said, like this podcast is about like just coming up with ideas and then working it out. So like that's like, for instance, as you can tell, like it's not fully realized.
Sure. Oh, trust me, when we get to mine, we'll be doing a lot of back and forth.
But I like where you I like all the suggestions you've made, and that I don't know, like I didn't know that I was going sci-fi with it until you really
seek out those books. They're great reads.
Yeah.
They really are. And if your listeners are listening, probably some of them have read them and they're like, he totally got those wrong. But and I apologize, it has been a while. But they are really, really good reads. Xanth, his other series, is awesome, but it goes on for, like, I think he's on his 28th book.
Oh, jeez. He's still going.
He got to the point where he didn't want to do it anymore, and he stopped, and fans were like, no. So he's become a victim of his own writings. I'm not even sure he's still alive. I stopped reading Xanth about the 10th book out.
Oh, wow.
I was just like, I can't keep up with this.
Well, maybe there's ghostwriters now just keeping it going.
Could be. I don't know. I'm not sure what the deal is. Incarnations of Immortality is its own self-contained thing, which is nice. He didn't go much further than that, which is good.
Yeah. Sometimes, it's
5 books and then 2 bigger ones, and I think that's all he did with it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, the death one is a big favorite with sci-fi fans. It's because it's death, and death is fun.
Well, I like the idea too that death was caught off guard, and so he didn't see his own death about to take place.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun because as the books progress, different incarnations visit each other. So time will show up in Death's book, and Death will show up in Fate's book, and you're trying to look for clues. Like, okay, is this the same Death that I read in the first book that I'm reading in this book now? And,
well, and it also kind of reminds me of like Sandman comics,
a little bit of that too, yeah.
In Neil Gaiman's Sandman. So.
Yeah, different entities have different, quote, jobs that they have to, like, delirium and...
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, well, thanks, man.
Sure.
For listening to my pitch, and I think you gave me some great feedback, and now I got more homework to do.
And you got more reading. I've sent you home with reading. Just like my old teaching days. There we go.
Yeah. So, we'll come back. And the next episode, you'll pitch me a story.
The pitch from hell.
Oh.
Literally.
Literally from hell. All right.
There we go.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show, man.
Sure.